Hello everyone. Today I will tell you an episode of the series American Horror Stories called Drive-In. Enjoy watching. At the beginning of the episode, a guy and a girl kiss, and a video of Bob Ross is playing in the background. When a guy wants to move a little further, she stops him, explaining that it's too early and she wants to wait a little. They fight and the girl leaves. The next day, a guy named Chad tells his friends about what happened and they advise him to watch horror movies with his girlfriend, not relaxing videos, since fear excites women more, and also advises them to visit the open-air cinema, which is now gaining popularity, and go to the damn movie Rabbit. This film was shown only once, and after the session 6 people were found dead. People started attacking each other, they went crazy. In the evening of the same day, the guy watches an old recording from the courtroom where the director of the film is being tried. When the judge informs him that the film studio has agreed to suspend the screening of his film, he becomes angry and attacks the judge, shouting that he will kill her. At school, a guy asks a girl out on a date and she happily agrees. It's getting dark and people are starting to come one by one to the screening, and there's a woman standing behind the fence and screaming for everyone to leave, that the movie is cursed. She's one of the survivors from the first screening. But no one pays attention to her. Our heroes have already arrived at the cinema. The one-eyed woman calls Chad to her and asks him to find and turn off the switch. Otherwise, they will start killing each other. She's already been through this and doesn't want it to happen again. When he leaves, she shouts at him not to watch this movie. A cinema worker sets up a film. At this moment, the deliverer approaches her and says that the sender of the film ordered the film to be turned on at 16 units of brightness in order to feel the film. But the woman just gets mad at him, saying that she already has a lot of experience in this and she knows how to do her job better. The screening of the film has begun. Chad and Kelly make love in the car, at which point she looks away at the movie, but the guy tells her not to pay attention to the screen. Everyone else seems to be hypnotized by watching a movie, and at one point their eyes start to turn red and their pupils dilate. A one-eyed woman enters the room with a film and wants to stop the screening of the film, but a distraught employee stops the woman and pokes out her other eye with scissors. Chad and Kelly hear screams, wipe the fogged windows of the car, but nothing is visible behind them, and then they decide to get out of the car to look around. But the distraught break the window and attack the guys. The girl starts the car and tries to drive away, but due to poor visibility and panic, they crash into a nearby building. They try to escape, but they are being chased by a lot of zombie people. Fortunately, they manage to hide in one of the rooms of the building. This is the room from which the film was shown. There they find the disfigured corpses of one of the cinema workers and a one-eyed woman. Chad watches from the window what is happening on the street, and at one point his gaze focuses on the film. But when the employee attacks Kelly, the guy gets distracted from watching and saves her by brutally killing the woman. And then he stops the movie and loses consciousness. A few hours later, he regains consciousness. Some of the distraught people are dead, and the other part fled in an unknown direction. The guy thinks that it is necessary to find a phone to contact the police, but the girl does not agree with him. She says that it is pointless, since they will be interrogated for a long time, and during this time the number of murders will greatly increase. Besides, today will be the second screening of the film. This means that there is another film somewhere and it must be found and destroyed. She takes out the shotgun she found under the table. It will be for self-defense. After leaving the building, the guy notices his friend, but he is clearly not himself. Chad tries to remind him of himself by telling him various moments from their lives, hoping that he will become like before, but he only attacks him and then Chad kills him. They arrived at the place where the courier picked up the film. There's an old van and a Rolls-Royce parked there. The director of the film is inside the van. He is watching the news about what is happening. But guests have already come to him. They tell him that they also watched his movie that night and that they need a second film of the movie. But he says there was only one tape and that they shouldn't believe everything they write on the internet. When they tell him that everyone who watched the film went crazy and began to mercilessly kill each other, the director rejoices at this. After all, he created that horror movie where horror happens not on the screen, but among the audience. He used in practice all the elements that affect the subconscious of people he knew. When he saw the distraught editor who cut off her fingers one by one, then he realized that the film was ready. when, after the first screening of the film, he was convicted and imprisoned for 15 years. All this time he was engaged in improving his film so that the film would have an even greater impact on people and their minds. The director tells the guys that they are lucky to have seen this historic moment and that now they cannot work for the rest of their lives and lecture about what is happening. But Kelly clearly doesn't like the idea and shoots the man in the legs. Chad is trying to figure out where the original film is, since there was clearly a copy in the cinema. Because there were no glues on it, it was whole. When a girl aims at the director's head, he gives them the film, and Chad burns it on the stove. The guys leave the van and lock the director in it. The flame gradually envelopes everything around. And the director screams that this is not the end of the film, it was only the first part, and all the most interesting things are still ahead. A man burns to death, and the guys are finally copulating. What they don't know yet is that the movie Rabbit will soon be broadcast on Netflix.